Hello, everyone, from my Milwaukee hotel room. Tony East here, covering the Pacers for Forbes and Locked On Pacers. Pacers-Bucks ended about three and a half hours ago. Lots of other stuff had to get done, and lots to discuss from another Pacers defeat, and one that is very easy to summarize, and one that will sting for the Pacers, quite frankly. Weird to say sting, right? The Bucks are good, and it stings because of the stakes, but it really stings because the Pacers starters are good enough, right? If you made them, or if you told them before the game, hey, Tyrese Halliburton's going to go out there and look great. He's going to have 15 assists and 0 turnovers, and he's going to score pretty well. Tyrese Halliburton, 24 points in this game, took 10 twos and made 7 of them. It's typically the hallmark of good aggression from Tyrese Halliburton. They won Halliburton's minutes by 12. Pascal Siakam's going to have 26. He's going to have 27 in just the second quarter of the game. And Siakam did that. 7 boards as well, 2 assists. He played 39 minutes, made 12 shots, played quite well for the Pacers. And on top of the 50 points the Pacers are going to get from their star players, Aaron Nesmith, who's been balling since the All-Star break, is going to have a career-high 30. And the Pacers are going to win his minutes by 27 points. I think the Pacers had awesome. 80 points from those three. Great plus-minus from Nesmith. Nesmith plays 36 minutes and is plus 27. They would have thought no chance they lose, right? That's great stat lines. That means in the 12 minutes Aaron Nesmith did not play, the Pacers lost them by 34 because this was a 126-119 Bucks win. That's just hard to fathom. And yet the box score plus minus, sometimes a misleading stat. A player can get better or worse plus minus than their performance indicates by being played in certain lineups. For example, in this game, Pascal Siakam was -2 despite being very good because he played with the bench. And the bench for the Pacers absolutely stunk in this game. Their worst collective performance of the year. On a terrible time for it. Pacers needed this win. Tiebreaker was at stake against the Bucks. They were tied in the standings entering the day. Chance for the Pacers to take a game lead with the tiebreaker. Instead, they lose. The bench for the Pacers had 18 points. 6 from Ben Mathurin, 8 for Obi Toppin, who was pretty good and closed the game at center, and 4 from TJ McConnell. Not only were they struggling to score, their defense was awful. Ben Mathurin came in on his first possession, got torched by Taurean Prince going to the rim. TJ McConnell couldn't keep anybody in front of him. Toppin's not a good defender. Thomas Bryant's defense was so poor he only played 4 minutes and 40 seconds in this game. They were awful. And that led to a big problem for the Pacers. They have a good bench. Last year it led the league in scoring. It was reliable enough to play in the playoffs. It has not been a good bench for two and a half months now. Basically all of 2025. In this game, the Pacers starting 5 was plus 10. And their starting 5 with Obi Toppin in instead of Miles Turner was plus 16. And those two groups combined to play over 28 minutes. That's 26, plus 26 for the Pacers in those 28 and a half-ish minutes with their starters on the floor. They stunk besides that. Their bench was awful, especially when they overlapped. They had 3 lineups in this game that featured 4 bench players and then either Pascal Siakam or Miles Turner. Those groups only played about 8 minutes, and they were minus 23. Just terrible from the Pacers bench in this game. Mathurin made 2 of his 3 shots, but his defense was at its absolute worst. This is how bad it can be. His team defense has never been awesome or even good. His on-ball defense was dreadful in this game, right? Then he's doing nothing on that end. Obi Toppin's defense wasn't good. He made shots. He rebounded. He's had some nice passing games in a row. I thought he was fine and up the tempo, but is not a good defensive player at all. TJ McConnell, 2 for 8. He's having a lot more trouble making and creating the shots that he did last year that made him so effective. Only 2 assists for him in this game. They had no flow and juice with those groups and got no stops. How on earth are the Pacers supposed to win if that's what they get from their bench? The answer is they're not, and they didn't. And the Bucks deserve a ton of credit for neutralizing those units, but I thought a couple things post-game were very revealing when it came to the bench struggles. One was Damian Lillard doing an interview on the court with the Bucks in-arena host, and he talked about the starters were good. They closed the game well for the Bucks to seal it. He said, in a game like this, where their bench is usually dominating their team's bench, we had to step it up, and we did. Right? He knows the Pacers bench is usually good. He lost to it in the playoffs last year Today, the Bucks bench was significantly better. Kevin Porter Jr. alone almost outscored the Pacers bench. Then Rick Carlisle, that was my first question to Rick Carlisle postgame. What happened with your bench today? He said it was a struggle. He said, maybe I'm subbing too many guys at once. We're certainly capable of better. It certainly seems that way. With 3 or fewer Pacers starters on the floor since February 1st, the Pacers have been outscored by 85 points in about 10 games worth of sample. It's horrible. That's just awful. It's one of the worst teams in the league level stuff. And that's with 3 or fewer starters on the floor. That could have as many as 3 starters on the floor. The most played lineup of the sample I just described is like good players on the floor. Siakam, Nembhard, Toppin, Halliburton, Mathurin. That's a good group. But there's so many just terrible bench-filled lineups recently. Maybe the answer for the Pacers is when they put certain stars with the bench comes at different times. Maybe they just never go to 4 guys off the bench at the same time. I don't know. The bench last week had a game in Atlanta where they were bad. And then this game, they were bad. And in between, they were okay. Not good, but okay in the 3 or 4 games in between. And if they had those okay performances either in the first game they played in Atlanta last weekend or tonight, Pacers would have won both those games. But they've been very inconsistent, and they have not even gotten close to the level they reached last year. And it just cost the Pacers a win in a game that they actually could have won. They actually played okay against the Bucks. Some other stuff was not good for the Pacers. Giannis went off after they, air quotes, limited him on Tuesday. They did a great job double-teaming him and encouraging him, let's say, to get off the ball Tuesday, and he did. And his teammates didn't make enough shots to make the Pacers play in this game. 1, Giannis was better attacking himself, getting to 34 points, powerful finishes, just was more focused on scoring. But 2, his teammates were much better putting the ball in the basket. Dame Lillard made half his threes and some toughies, right? So the Pacers didn't defend that much worse, but just a smidge worse. And against the Bucks, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They had some nice moments of offense taking advantage of that too. Miles Turner, 2 games against the Bucks this week. The way the Bucks defend is going to leave Miles Turner open for 3. He took 18 threes in the 2 games. I don't think any of them were bad threes. He made 3 of them. Really tough. Pacers did win on Tuesday, but they could have won tonight if he made more, and he didn't. That was another standout issue for the Pacers in this one, who otherwise played okay. 2 surging comebacks in both halves. Got it down to 4, I think, in the fourth quarter after being down as much as 21. Certainly found some answers. Starting 5 was very good. Star players were good. Biggest game of the season for the Pacers. Probably will end the season as the biggest regular season game they played. And they came up short, and their bench was just awful. They got to figure it out. Minnesota's coming up for the Pacers on Monday. They haven't played the Timberwolves yet. After that, it's Brooklyn, Minnesota, Wizards within the next 6 for the Pacers. If they can beat the Wolves, they can really make up some standings ground. Easy schedule coming up, but they need to figure some stuff out. They've lost 4 of 6. The bench killed them in this one. Much more on Locked On Pacers and Riding in Forbes. Thanks for watching. See you soon.